I'm making this announcement in compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act, Chapter 231, Public Law 1975, laws of the state of New Jersey. The Borough Clerk has prepared a schedule of the meetings of the governing body of the Borough of Kenilworth for the year 2022. The Borough Clerk has posted a true copy of the schedule on the bulletin board located at the front entrance of Borough Hall, and has mailed true copies of the schedule to the local source, the Star-Ledger and the Home News Tribune, and is maintaining a copy of the schedule in her office during the year 2022. Accordingly, the notice requirements of the Open Public Meetings Act have been satisfied in regards to this meeting. Please stand for the salute to the flag.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilwoman Cesari. Here. Councilman David.
Here.
Councilman Finestrella.
Here.
Councilman Pence.
Here.
Councilman Puglisi.
Here.
Councilman Zimmerman.
Here.
Okay, I'd like to move on to the finance report. Councilman Puglisi.
Thank you, Mayor. Just briefly, the mayor and I met with officials from Mountainside earlier today. As you may have heard, Roseville Park has decided to cancel their contract for shared services with us effective December 31st. I'm sorry, effective December 31st for the QPA and the CFO. That being said, Ken, our CFO, in conjunction with myself and the mayor, reached out, and we met with the Mountainside officials to discuss the possibility of a shared services agreement with them for the tax collector, the CFO, and a QPA, and that would be effective if it goes through January 1st. I thought it went well. There's still a little more back and forth without getting too much in details. Overall, it would be cheaper to go that way rather than hiring a full-time body. So I think it's a win-win if it goes through, and it sounds like a good idea. If it happens, it'll come back before council and voted on at, I presume, the first meeting in December. That's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you. Department of Public Works, Councilman David.
Thank you, Mayor. The only thing I have to say is I'd like to tell residents that leaf pickup is beginning now. We are collecting the leaves at the curbside, so all the residents that are worrying or scared that we're not doing that, we are continuing to pick up leaves at the curb. We have one truck, one driver through the whole town. So they started doing it. You can break your leaves out to the street. DPW would still like it if you want. You can put it in the bags. You go down to DPW, they still give out the free bags. So that helps out a lot if you want to do it that route. But to alleviate all the pressure and the worry, the town is picking up leaves. So we put that to rest and have a good fall season. That's all I got.
Thank you. Department of Public Safety, Councilman Zimmerman.
Thank you, Mayor. Just received some information from Chief Seuss that the LISO program that we participate in as a law enforcement agency, we've gotten some vehicles over the past couple of years, and most recently I know they got two quads, and they combined them into one. So we have those for. We have one that's functioning now, and we had somebody volunteer and did some work on it for us to bring it up to making it functional. And it actually has two, what's the word I'm looking for, on the front and back. It has the winches, so we can use it for light debris and certain size trees when they fall during storms. So it's a nice piece of equipment that we have. Also, he informed me that today we obtained a forklift for the DPW. I know they were looking for one in their budget. It's going to need a little bit of work, but it is functional. And I know Mike Calixto is not here tonight, our superintendent, but he was excited for the opportunity to get that. So that will help save some money too on that end, because we don't need to purchase one now, and we can use that for our DPW. For the month of November 2022, the Kennewick Police Department responded to 1,361 calls for service and 184 911 calls. There were a total of 171 hours of overtime for the month, which primarily scheduled for patrol overtime, 108 hours, and dispatch overtime of 55 hours. And actually, this isn't for the month of November, it's actually for the month of October. There was also a total of 244 hours of training for October, which consisted of 120 hours of defensive tactics training and 60 hours of training for new Detective Anthony Tanks. And there were a total of 204 traffic summonses issued for October. No sick days or sick occurrences for the entire month by the police department. Also, on October 11th, Officer Robert Ruger conducted a motor vehicle stop on Springfield Road, and in the course of his investigation, Officer Ruger determined that the driver was wanted out of Texas on a fugitive warrant for aggravated assault. The subject was taken into custody and remanded to the Union County Jail, where he is awaiting extradition to Texas through the Union County Sheriff's Department. And motor vehicle burglaries and catalytic converter thefts have been relatively quiet since the last council meeting. On Tuesday, November 1st, Lieutenant Cox and Officer Riccelli participated in Operation Blitz, along with multiple other agencies in Union, Essex, Morris, and Somerset counties. The operation was designed to saturate the towns along routes 22, 78, and routes 24 with police officers in targeted operation to combat rampant auto thefts and motor vehicle burglaries, which have been affecting all of these towns. Results and debriefing will be discussed and disseminated at the next council meeting. Also, Chief Seuss told me that the Kennewick Police Department, I know we had a concern during the workshop for the Mario Park and people using the park while it's under construction and while the grass is growing. He said, in addition to the storm fence that we talked about having put up there, also Kennewick Police Department will increase patrols there to try and keep people off of it on weekends and playing soccer and walking dogs. Also, I know we discussed this, the defibrillator for the seniors, and Chief Seuss said he does have the money in his budget to supply that, but he had a concern, which I agree with, making sure somebody's trained in it in the building before we place it in the building, so somebody doesn't misuse it accidentally, thinking they know what they're doing. So we
Training
will,
in the CPR, their CPR class, they train you how to use the defibrillator. So we talked
right.
about having a CPR class.
Yeah, so we talked about
there.
that, but I think instead of putting the cart before the horse, make sure that we have people trained to use it before we put it there, so we don't have a mishap. Of
course.
Somebody uses it accidentally.
Right, it can be bad.
And they should use it.
Right.
Also, on November 7th to the 14th, the borough lot behind the senior center is being paved. So Chief Seuss has worked it out with the, I had spoken to the business owners there. They were concerned about access to their dumpsters, and he's made arrangements so that they can move their dumpsters on the side street it's going to be? Onto the side street so that they can have their debris picked up by their respective companies. And that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Planning and zoning, Councilman Fenestrella.
Thank you, Mayor. I received notice last week that one of the associates in the Planning and Zoning Construction Department resigned. So this individual wearing 3 different hats, so we'll be looking to fill the code enforcement officer, planning board administrator, assistant, department admin / tech assistant. So we're currently putting that out there for the public to submit any resumes, and the committee, the Planning and Zoning Committee, will be conducting interviews shortly, and we're hoping
Great.
to get that filled before the 9th, which is her last day, December 9th.
Okay, excellent.
The next Planning and Zoning meeting is November 10th, 6 p.m. work session. After that, 6:30 meeting. There's no application, so we might not even have a meeting.
Okay,
That's all I have.
thank you. Recreation and Fire, Councilman Pence.
Thank you, Mayor. For the month of October, the Fire Department answered 39 calls, 2 of which were mutual aids. There's no report from the First Aid Squad. I have no report for the Recreation Department.
Okay, that's it? Thank you. Health, Education, and Human Services, Councilwoman Cesari.
Thank you, Mayor. Okay, the Board of Ed, there's really nothing except for voting is, of course, November 8th, and that is done at Harding. Board of Health, November 5th, there'll be rabies vaccines given out from 10 to 12. I believe it's in St. Teresa's parking lot. Dr. Sweeney, the vet, well, she used to have the van vet, I call it, but she'll be giving out the rabies shots. We talked about the seniors with the defibrillators. The lot, of course, is going to be closed, like Councilman Zimmerman said. It will be closed from Monday, the 7th, to Friday, the 11th, and will reopen on the 14th. Let's see. And I have some library announcements, and that's it. But I'm all a little mixed up here because I didn't put things in the right order. Here it is, okay. Adult programming, Thursday, November 3rd and 10th, the Arnie's program is from 2 to 4 p.m. Thursday, November 17th, the Arnie's Library Fiber Night will be held from 6 to 8. Tuesday, November 15th, the Paper Pals meet from 2 to 4 p.m. Children's programming. All children's programming require registration as spaces are limited. Kenilworth families can call the library at 908-276-2451 to register 1 week prior to the program. Friday, November 4th will be craft at the library and held at 3:30 p.m. for ages 4 to 9. Saturday, November 5th, drawing workshop will be held from 12:30 to 1:30, ages 8 to adult. Wednesday, November 9th, we will have yoga story time, and it'll be held from 10:30 for ages 2 to 5. Thursday, November 9th, 10th, and 17th is a Mad Science workshop, and it will be held at 3:30 for ages 4 to 12. And finally, Wednesday, November 30th, Good Time String Band will be performing from 10:30 a.m. to 11 a.m. for all families. And all program information, you can call, and it can also be found on the webpage and the Facebook page. And again, the number for the library is 908-276-2451. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
What time was the rabies shot?
10 to 12 a.m.
Is there a motion to approve committee reports?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor? Okay, I also like a motion to approve the minutes of council meeting October 5th and October 19th.
Make a motion.
Second.
Roll call, Madam Clerk?
Councilwoman Cesari?
Yes.
Councilman David?
Yes.
Councilman Fenestrella?
Yes.
Councilman Pence?
Yes.
Councilman Puglisi?
Yes.
Councilman Zimmerman?
Yes.
Okay. At this time, I'd like a motion to remove Resolution 234, 235, 236, and 237 from the agenda.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Next for council consideration is the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion.
Second.
Resolutions 238 to 245 are listed on the consent agenda and will be approved in one motion. All items will be recorded individually in full in the minutes. Councilwoman Cesari?
Yes.
Councilman David?
Yes.
Councilman Fenestrella?
Yes.
Councilman Pence?
Yes.
Councilman Puglisi?
Yes.
Councilman Zimmerman?
Yes.
I'd just like to read Resolution 245 to everyone. Whereas the Borough of Kenilworth wishes to participate in Operation Greenlight in an effort to show support for veterans by lighting our building green from November 7th to the November 13th. As a reminder and commitment in ensuring that veterans know they are seen, appreciated, and supported by their government. And the residents of the Borough of Kenilworth have great respect, admiration, and the utmost gratitude for all of the men and women who have selflessly served our country and this community in the armed forces. And the contributions and sacrifices of the men and women who served in the armed forces have been vital in maintaining the freedoms and way of life enjoyed by our citizens. The Borough of Kenilworth seeks to honor these individuals who have paid the high price for freedom by placing themselves in harm's way for the good of all. Veterans continue to serve our community in the American Legion, Veterans of Foreign Wars, religious groups, civil service, and by functioning as county veteran service officers in 29 states to help fellow former service members access more than $52 billion in federal health, disability, and compensation benefits each year. Whereas approximately 200,000 service members transition to civilian communities annually, an estimated 20% increase of service members will transition to civilian life in the near future, and studies indicate that 44 to 72% of service members experience high levels of stress during transition from military to civilian life. Whereas active military service members transitioning from military service are at a high risk for suicide during their first year after military service. And the National Association of Countries encouraging all counties, parishes, and boroughs to recognize Operation Greenlight for veterans. And the Borough of Kenilworth appreciates the sacrifices of our United States military personnel and believes specific recognition should be granted. Now therefore be it resolved that in observance of Operation Greenlight, the Borough of Kenilworth encourages its citizens in patriotic tradition to recognize the importance of honoring all those who made immeasurable sacrifices to preserve freedom by displaying a green light in a window of their place or business of residence. Be it further resolved that the Borough of Kenilworth joins NACO and NACVSO in participating in Operation Greenlight from November 7th to November 13th to honor our servicemen and women within the Borough of Kenilworth. Okay, we have one ordinance up for adoption this evening, or introduction, I'm sorry.
Ordinance 2022-19, ordinance adopting Chapter 186, unmanned aircraft, drones, to the Code of the Borough of Kenilworth.
Is there a motion to approve ordinance 2022-19 for introduction?
Motion.
Second.
Councilwoman Cesari.
Yes.
Councilman David.
Yes.
Councilman Finestrella.
Yes.
Councilman Pence.
Yes.
Councilman Puglisi.
Yes.
Councilman Zimmerman.
Yes.
Be it hereby resolved that ordinance 2022-19, heretofore introduced, does now pass on first reading, and that said ordinance be further considered for final passage at a meeting to be held on December 7th, 2022 at 6:00 p.m. or as soon as thereafter as the matter can be reached at the regular meeting place of the Borough Council, and that at such time and place all persons interested be given an opportunity to be heard concerning said ordinance, and that the Borough Clerk is hereby authorized and directed to publish said ordinance according to law with a notice of its introduction and passage on final reading, and of the time and place when and where said ordinance will be further considered for final passage.
Is there a motion to open the floor to the public?
I'll make that motion, Mayor.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Does anyone have anything to say for the good and well-being of Kenilworth? Please come forward and state your name and address.
Excuse me, Mayor and Council, I'd just like to bring up one thing before we go to public session. It's my understanding that the public is going to bring up an issue regarding the borough's interest in self-insuring their health insurance and moving out of the state health insurance. I'm just advising the council members to not address any of these issues with the public, for the public is free to speak as much as they want, as these relate to contract negotiations. They also relate to collective bargaining agreements, and they also impact employees. So they are employment matters as well. So for all three reasons, I'm just advising everybody not to address the public, but please, anyone in the public, feel free to say anything you'd like.
Based on your comment.
Okay.
So how would we proceed to go along with this, to discuss this, if we needed to discuss it, because it is a very serious issue if the town decided to do this?
What's this about?
That's right, this is regarding the self-insurance for health insurance.
Over the email we got,
I haven't seen the
November
email,
1st?
I just was made aware that there might be an issue, but to the extent that we need to discuss this, it should be in closed session first until the contract negotiations are finalized. If it does impact employees, and particular employees are going to be discussed by name, and then you would have to write those particular employees. If it's going to involve all employees, then you're probably just going to have to give notice to all employees that, they're going to be discussing these issues in closed session. To the extent that they're finalized, and when they're finalized, then they can be discussed in open session.
yeah, I mean, I don't know much about this, but all I know is we got an email November 1st about health benefits, and then it came from our risk management.
Risk assessment.
Right, so, and then, nothing ever happened since then, no action. I mean, really, I don't know, I don't know, I don't know anything about it. I don't know, I can't speak for anybody else here, but nothing as far as I know. Yeah, so we got an email that was sent to everybody here. There was no action taken on it. It was, so, to the extent that anybody's, I'll say this, to the extent that anybody's worried about health insurance, right? To the extent that anybody's worried about health insurance, there's not, all we received was a generalized email, unsolicited, and I can only speak for myself. It was unsolicited, it came from our risk manager, and that's, he's like an insurance broker, it's like we would get calls from maybe our State Farm agent or what have you, or broker insurance saying, hey, listen, we heard about a better deal with Allstate or what have you. That's all we received was an email. It was pretty much just something like that, and we received it on November 1st. And really nothing has happened formally, even informally, regarding that. So all I did was forward it to our CFO because he knows numbers more than anybody else. But if anybody's worried about anything, that seems like a significant issue, right? So for something like that, that needs to go through committees, and it's not something that would ever happen overnight. So without getting it, it's, I don't know if you're worried, I guess there are police here, so I guess they're worried about, guys, this is something that's a serious issue. It was unsolicited. It came from our risk manager, and that's his job, to see where he can. He's an insurance adjuster, right? He's an insurance agent for all intents and purposes. It came from him. As far as I know, it was unsolicited. No one asked him for quotes. He just came out of the blue, and so that we're not even in the infancy of it. It's not even an embryo. So it was something we just forwarded over to Ken. If there's ever going to be anything of that significance, I can only speak for myself. It would have to go through committees. It would have to be discussed ad nauseum, or its governing body during work session. So I don't know, what was told to you guys, but this is not. I don't know much about it other than we got in an email from our risk assessment.
Yeah, so I would just respectfully request that, or counsel you not to respond, but the public is more than welcome to speak if they wish.
Okay. So I'm going to ask for a motion to open the floor to the public again. Can we have that?
Motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, does anyone have anything to say for the good and well-being of Kenilworth? Please come forward, state your name and address. Hello, Paulette.
Hi, Paulette Drogan, 215 Faytooth Avenue. I just want to speak on behalf of the senior meetings that were held today. It has been how do I put this nicely, a disaster, the senior center and club, and it's been a mess since before COVID due to many reasons, and people taking files that they should have. However, today, it was a very constructive, helpful meeting.
Oh, I'm so happy to hear
Our councilman came, which even when I was there, rarely did they come. I know he's work, but the seniors really needed to discuss some of these things. They were able to vent. Kay, I thank you. She was more than patient.
She is patient, isn't she?
It gets a little rough.
Very true.
And we're going to be able to move forward, and I believe we can fix this.
Great.
And I just wanted to thank you for being there, and thank you, and I'm hoping we will always get your support.
Of course. Thank you, Paulette. Anyone else?
Sean Caverton with PBM. Obviously, the police officers in the room are here for a reason tonight. We're concerned about our benefits for our families. You know, we all have kids and families. And I know the attorney has advised you to not speak about it, but I don't know if we're quite satisfied with that. I know he's not going to let me talk, so I'm just going to say my piece. Do you guys have plans of changing our health plans? Do you support defunding the police in general?
Of course not.
And do we have anything to worry about going forward? And this is for both sides, both parties. Do we have anything to worry about in contract negotiations in the future when it comes to our benefits?
I understand address that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I don't want to speak out of turn, Mayor.
I'm just going to respectfully request that we don't respond to anything,
That's
Councilman.
fine.
I'm sorry.
I understand. I don't support defunding the police. Okay, so I don't know where that.
No.
I don't think anybody in this governing body would even
Absolutely not.
broach the topic of that. So, and I understand council's suggestion, and I appreciate the advice, but no, as far as I know, not one of the 7 of us up here would even contemplate such a position. So. You know, if you have any other quotes, I'm sorry, go ahead.
You know, that's why we were here. I know you're limited on what you could say, but we just wanted to be known that
Well, we
everybody in
appreciate
this room
being
has
here.
families, and that includes retired people, and we don't want our medical touched, and that's part of, you know, negotiations and everything like that. And we want to know going forward that we're not going to be messed with when it comes to our healthcare.
Well, you guys have contracts, which is good, which you're entitled to it. You negotiated. It's.
I understand that,
So-
but I'm saying going forward, in future negotiations.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know if I'll be here for that. It's like, I don't know when your contract expires, but I can't speak to that. That I actually can't speak, because I don't even know if I'll be here, to be honest with you.
The council has reached out to change health plans in the late 80s, when I was PBA president. There's a clause in the contract that it has to be equal or greater to the coverage we have now to switch. So to switch to a program that I'm not allowed to talk about would probably bankrupt the town in a year or two due to health benefits. That's all I'm going to say.
I mean,
I think it's fair for the public, for at least me to intervene, to let you know that there aren't any negotiations going forward on this point, but we can't discuss negotiations as it relates to or impacts collective bargaining agreements, employees, or contracts.
But the fact that, you know, the councilman said that he sent it to the CFO means that it has to be being considered, right? So that's why we're here.
I understand that's just a formality. If someone makes a recommendation, he has to follow a process, but we can't discuss the issues. No issues are being discussed, and nothing's been brought to the Borough Council's attention as it relates to this issue. I just can't get into any of the details other than that.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, seeing no one, is there a motion to close the floor for public discussion?
Motion.
Second.
Does anyone have anything to say for the good and welfare of the borough?
I just have something, okay.
No, I'm just going to say, in observance of Veterans Day, this Saturday, the 5th, at 8 a.m., at the VFW, they'll be honoring the fallen veterans at Graceland, and we will gathering there at 8 a.m.
Very nice.
and then go to the Graceland Memorial and put flags on each veteran that's
Very nice. I
gone.
saw you do that in the past. Very nice, Joe.
And then also on Veterans Day,
November 11th.
the VFW will be having the normal ceremony.
Service. That's November 11th at 11 a.m.
Yep. And this Saturday at 8 a.m. It's open to anybody that wants to participate at the Veterans Center on the 11th, and this Saturday at 8 a.m. So
Very nice.
I just want to add to that real quick, if I can, Mayor. I just want to congratulate And best of luck to the David Burley High School boys varsity soccer team on their victory over Verona on Halloween. And they won this afternoon in overtime against Whippany. So they are proceeding in the state soccer tournament. I just want to say congratulations on a great job. And also to our football team, David Burley varsity football team on their victory last Friday over North Arlington here at the high school. And I wish them the best of luck in their upcoming game this Friday evening, beginning at 6 p.m. right here in Kenilworth at Ward Field against Kinnelon in Kenilworth. So please come out and support our local teams. That's all I have.
Thank you. Okay, if there's nothing else to be brought before the council, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Motion made by Councilman Peck, seconded by Councilman Zimmerman. All in favor?
Aye.
Have a good night, everyone. Thank you for coming.